earlier that this was actually one of the fewer times that Christian was featured like in a top spot. So it was nice to see him here. I guess the only downside of this feud, well, if I had to pick one negative, I mean, it was overall still like a really good feud. If I had to pick one negative, is they never really allowed him to look strong at any point in this.
No, in this feud, no, he was the cowardly heel.
Yeah, which, I mean, it worked, but I guess that's the only downside. And I guess they kind of had to have him lose the title that short for him to get frustrated and then turn heel. I guess they had to do it that way, but yeah, but I don't really know why he didn't pan out to be like one of the top stars and whatnot, because, I mean, he had the talents. I mean, he was one of the better workers, really, that they had consistently. He could talk on the microphone. He could do that, and he honestly had a good enough look. I mean, it was just weird.
Yeah, I think part of it is the rumor is Vince just never liked Christian, right? Like, in terms of being like a top guy.
Well, from everything I've heard, there's no way he does, because there's one point where he wanted to put a blue dot in his face. Apparently, whenever he came out, he's going to put a blue dot in his face to cover him up because he didn't want to look at him or something like that. Something crazy. Either that or he thought that was the only way he could ever get over.
Sometimes Vince is just crazy.
No, that's the thing. I've heard that from a few different people. Say that throughout the years.
I have never heard that, but I don't doubt it for 1 second. The man is nuts.
Like, I actually thought the best Christian was Christian Cage in TNA.
Oh, it was, for sure.
Yeah, Christian Cage was awesome.
And they treated him like a top guy.
Yeah, they did, which was really cool.
Yeah, I love Christian Cage.
Going back, so now after that, you get like the build up to the main event, right? Well, first off, what we get stars to the Orton match?
I went with 3 3/4.
Yeah, I was right around there. That 3.5, 3 3/4.
Yeah, I was around there too.
Yeah, so for this show, we're outside of the Divas match. Outside of the Divas match, we're pretty much all in agreement on all the ratings and whatnot. Which, I mean, if we are, we are. If we're not, we're not. There's just no right or wrong. It's all opinionated. But 12 minutes and 20 seconds would be the length of that match. Which actually, you could say they actually probably maybe deserve some more time. But I think part of it also is because you're running a show where you have 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches as well. So, I mean, everything's going to be condensed. And you have a main event which you have to give like as much time to as possible. So I think there is that part of it too. But Christian would win the world title by disqualification.
Yeah, let's get to the main event here. I just want to say before we actually talk about the match, this feels like a main event. That's the first thing I noticed.
Yeah, this could have been a main event of Mania.
This feels like it does. It feels like the crowd. You just feel that this is a big deal. Like this match, like this is like. You get that feeling of like, we have a big attraction in John Cena here. We got the hometown kid, CM Punk. We got like, this is a big deal. That's the first thing I felt, was that this is a big match. And then the pop when Punk comes out, and like, it's amazing. It's just so good. And then, Cena comes out and he gets booed out of the building. He doesn't run down to the ring because he has that feeling of like, I know I'm going to war here.
He's got his game face on.
Like, yep, I'm going into enemy territory. Nobody here wants you to win, except for like that little like 5-year-old kid with the Cena shirt somewhere. And then, but that's the first thing I want to say was this. They don't have main events now. I feel often don't feel this way.
No, I agree 1,000%.
Sitting there and I was like, whoa, this is going to be a great match. You could tell just going into it how good it was going to be. Mm-hmm.
And it may even exceeded expectations too, because you knew it was going to be great. But I mean, well, anytime you have a 5-star match, I mean, there's not a lot of times you go into it expecting 5 stars. You knew it was going to be great, but man, this was off the chain. I mean, this is one of the best matches I've seen, really.
To me, this felt like a WrestleMania match. The pop that CM Punk got is. People don't get that kind of pop at Manias when there's 70,000 people. And sure, it benefited from being in a smaller arena, but there was not one person, even if you were going to root for Cena, 3 minutes later when he got done walking down, you jumped off your feet for CM Punk for that match. To have it in Chicago, to have it it was perfect. It was a perfect setup. It felt like something so much bigger than what it was. Looking back on it, one of the most historical matches of all time. It's up there with, you know, the Undertaker Shawn Michaels match. It's up there with Undertaker and Mankind. It's a top 5 match probably of all time.
It's crazy when you go back and watch it, and like I remember being so nervous about this because I wanted Punk to win. This was a match where the whole time you're like cheering for CM Punk, and you are so. How long was this match, Cameron?
33 minutes and 44 seconds.
It does not feel that long at all. It feels like it's 10 minutes.
Completely agree. It flew by.
It really did, actually.
You get so into it. Like, you're just like, you know, and here's the thing, throughout the whole match, you are rooting so hard for CM Punk, too. It does exactly what it needed to do. It gets you to get behind the guy you're supposed to and just root for him as hard as you can.
Uh-huh. No, I agree with that.
And then, like, I remember, like, when Cena kicks out of the GTS, you're like, oh, like, it's a moment of, like, you're so upset. And then when Punk has one kick out in particular from an AA where he kicks out at, like, 2.9 seconds.
That was an AJ kick out right there.
Yeah, and you, like, I jumped up and screamed. I was like, oh, shit, because it was just so, like, it was just such a great kick out. And just everything about this match was amazing.
I know. I love everything about it. I just love everything about this feud. Like, every single time Cena and Punk were in the ring, they really delivered. Really, so
yeah.
It's like I always appreciate that feud, and of course, it may have not been one of the more memorable time periods, but they were the 2 stars of their time, and just everything was supposed to be. And I really miss that like feel nowadays, and like even like with going back to like to, you know, being in Punk's hometown, Chicago. I mean, there's people who are in their hometowns that like do not get ovations like that. That their city is just like so behind them, and like that crowd's just so into them. Like there's so many like people who have like, you know, they have their shows in their hometowns and like matches in their hometown. You do not see that kind of connection like with everyone like you do like with Chicago and CM Punk. And honestly, like they just resonate together. Like I could hear Chicago sometimes, like when it's like, well, every single time you think wrestling in Chicago, you think of CM Punk. But like I could just hear Chicago sometimes in my head. I just think of Punk. So they just go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just such a connection.
It's another example of with Punk. Well, I think at this point, like Punk was white hot as a babyface. Like he was.
Well, he was a heel, and he got so over it they had to turn him face.
Like because here's the thing: every fan agreed with what he was saying.
I know.
Like, the pipe bomb, in my opinion, is the moment where every single fan was like, he's right. Everything he just said is right. You know, like it's...
And a lot of that still holds up to today.
It does, but I remember watching the pipe bomb and being like, everything he just said was 100% right.
Uh-huh.
Like and it really got fans behind him because, and then but not just the match, but the promos him and Cena would have together were so good.
Those guys
like,
just clicked.
The contract signing with Vince and Punk was so good.
Oh yeah, we brought that up in the notes.
Apologize, yeah, you will apologize, and you will like it. Like just,
yeah, no, that was all great stuff.
Everything was just so good about this feud, and then this match in particular. And then they have the one at SummerSlam.
And that was still really good, too. It wasn't the same, but it was still really good. But yet again, once again, if that's a main event match, I mean, how could it not deliver with those two guys? It's impossible.
Yeah. But this match in particular, I think, like we said, is always going to be looked at in, like, the top 15, top 10 matches in WWE history.
Yeah. No, I agree. I loved everything about it.
This was also, like I said, the start of Punk being one of the top guys in the company.
Yeah, which was overdue.
For sure, yeah. And like he said in the pipe bomb, where he goes in that ring on this microphone, even at commentary, nobody can touch me. And you sit there and listen to it like he's absolutely right. Why isn't he a top guy? You know, and because I think Punk, if you watch the I forget what it's called, but he had that documentary he did around then. Best in the world, I think. And
it was his DVD.
Put it out. Yeah, I didn't realize around that time he was actually very close to leaving.
Oh no, yeah, he was like, really close to leaving, but then eventually, I guess they're like, oh no, well he does have some talent, so we'll just put the strap on him and run this program, and we'll see where it goes. And it's definitely a success.
Well, with the pipe bomb, a writer just came and said they just want you to go out and air your grievances and see what you have problems with.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually had to cut him off because he was going to go in on Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're like, oh, yeah, time to end this. Yeah, because we had noted before you had joined that, like, I had read the full pipe bomb promo, actually. And I had also, I had pointed out that it was a worked shoot, meaning that he was supposed to go out there and do what he was supposed to go out there and say stuff. It's just like he was speaking from his chest, basically, as he was saying it. But, yeah, it was just one of those moments where it's just like, wow. Like, I think they even released, like, when they were doing, like, that Raw, I think it was, like, the Raw 25 show a couple years ago on the network, they even put that, like, in the list of, like, unforgettable or, like, shocking moments, something like that. Top 10. So it's like, it was just one of those deals.
Well, because you can tell when he first starts the promo, the crowd is like, oh.
It's just another typical promo.
Going,
yeah.
Then as he keeps going, the crowd's like, what? I think for me it changes when he mentions other promotions.
Yeah, like Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Ring of Honor, he calls out Colt Cabana. Yup.
Yeah. Hey, Colt Cabana, how you doing? Not going to do that anymore. But and then you have just everything. He mentions Paul Heyman, especially around that time, how WWE felt about Paul Heyman.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I'm a Paul Heyman guy.
Just like Brock Lesnar.
Paul Heyman guy. And I'm splitting just like he's, only I'm leaving with the WWE Championship. And then he talks about how Cena's an ass kisser.
Yeah.
But he's not as good as Dwayne.
Not as bad as Dwayne, and he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
One of the things Go ahead, finish.
I was going to say the one line, and then I'll be done. The one line about that promo where I, like, jumped out of my seat, and I remember it very well. I'm sitting there watching it, and he gois, I'd like to think maybe this company will be better after Vince McMahon's dead, but the fact of the matter is, it's going to go to his idiotic daughter or his doofus son-in-law and the rest of his stupid family. I was like, oh, my God! Like,
I know, he's just going in on it at that point.
That was the moment where I was like, and obviously him and Triple H hating each other. But
yeah.
So, and that was a moment where I was like, wow, that was insane.
Yeah.
So, after hearing Cam reread the pipe bomb and watching the video package beforehand, it makes me think, like, man, how much CM Punk did I miss in those couple of years where I was just kind of a casual fan, and I would turn it on in between Monday Night Football, where that's where my priority was. How much do I have to go back and just really appreciate what CM Punk was doing, especially on the mic, man? That pipe bomb, how did he not get cut off before that? How did they let some of the things that he was talking about USA on there, and he was just going in on everybody?
I think it was Kofi that said, like, he told Punk they were freaking out backstage, like they were going crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, when he started talking about Vince in the bullying thing, he's like, oh, yeah, we're done here. Nope.
They're like, no, but Kofi said that they were freaking out. I don't remember if it was Kofi. Somebody told Punk they were freaking out backstage. Like, it was like...
No, I remember hearing that. I remember hearing someone say that.
Because it's hilarious to me. I love it.
I think the one thing that I had mentioned about the match itself, and correct me if I'm wrong, but during the video package, they had said, Vince said to Cena, if you lose this match, you're fired.
You're fired.
You're fired. And to me, that was the only small gripe I had, was that in the beginning of the match, Cena was going to war, but it never seemed in the match like he was actually ever wrestling for his career. So,
that's a good point.
You saw the emotion when, the kickouts. You saw the emotion when he was locking in those STFs, but I don't even think, Michael Cole or Booker T were bringing up the fact that, like, it just seemed like it was something that was said, and then we brushed it under the rug. Like, John Cena's not going anywhere. We know that CM Punk is going to win this match. And it was just...
Well, if you remember the next night, because the next night is when Triple H takes over.
Right.
Yeah, so what they could have done there, actually, is they could have run it where... I mean, they announced that step before that he was going to be fired. What they could have just honestly just did it the next night where he was just mad and he was going to fire him. Then Triple H came out and they did whatever. Because I agree there. Like, this was a perfect match. It was like 5 stars across the board from all of us. And that was famously given 5 stars in the Wrestling Observer newsletter as well. But I think they could have done without that particular stip too, because it just seemed that they already had enough in the matches